Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source here, bringing the weather without all that social media hype. Here on your Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. Now, before we get going, we'd like to say thank you and welcome aboard any new subscribers here to the channel. And if you haven't yet decided to subscribe to the channel, please hit that subscribe button at this time. Hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you appreciate this update, please leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. It does help out a little bit with that YouTube algorithm. Well, today I thought I'd first take us out to and look at this upcoming hurricane season. We're only about 9-10 days away from the official start of the season, and we're going to be looking at, once again, it's expected to be an above average season with some active storms. So Andrea is going to be our first named storm, followed by Barry, Chantel, going all the way down to Windy, and hopefully we don't get down to Windy this year. Now, as we look at the latest from the Hurricane Center, they started doing these reports on the 15th of May, and this will continue right through the rest of the hurricane season. The good news is, for the next 7 days, we're all quiet out there. And look at the satellite imagery, looking quiet. Now, one thing I do want to point out here real quick is, again, this is the Intertropical Convergence Zone sitting right down here. Pretty good wave here off the coast of Africa, but as we get deeper into the season, this will begin to shift up here toward the north. So when it starts getting up here, as we toward the meat of the hurricane season, that's when we got to watch those tropical waves very closely. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on currently here across the nation. Now, I'll tell you a couple things we're watching. We've got this upper level low kind of spinning here back across Canada and the Great Lakes. And we have a surface low forming here off the coast, kind of developing into a little bit of a nor'easter, a little unusual to see that. And what's interesting, this is not the only one I'm looking at in the long-range models to see some sort of a nor'easter low pressure develop out here this late in getting towards springtime. It's a little unusual to see that. Also got another storm system coming out here on the west coast as well. And we're going to have a series of kind of weak disturbances that are going to be kind of riding down this way. So we're going to be talking about this in greater detail during this report. Now, the good news right now is watches and warnings are pretty quiet out there. No big deal to worry about right now. And as we look at our main radar, I wanted to show this up into the northeast. Boy, you guys up there across New England are going to be battered, not only by the rainy weather, but also just the fact it's going to be kind of cool and damp and just kind of absolutely dreary. And believe it or not, even some snow for some of the interior sections. Wait till I show you that model here in a second. It's going to blow your socks off. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the latest watches and warnings. We're going to look at the latest from the Storm Prediction Center. Let's go ahead and get that up for you very quick. There you go. And we're going to be talking about the day 1 through day 3 outlook. Now, again, we're dealing with no organized big outbreaks, okay? Let me be clear about that. But we're in that time of year. We're definitely warm enough outside. You get any kind of weakness that's kind of flowing in there, you're going to get some storms that are going to flare up. So let's look at your day 1 outlook here for today. You got a little pocket here, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area over toward Abilene and Shreveport with that marginal risk. We've got a couple of general risks in here across the country, Intermountain region. Even South Florida got a little marginal risk down there toward areas towards South Florida as well. So let's go ahead and break down the categorical look for today. How's the tornado look here looking for today? Let's take a look. Well, got a little bullseye there across areas of Wichita and Fort Worth and Dallas. So just a 2% risk of seeing maybe an isolated tornado in that zone here for today. How about the wind damage threat here? Let's look at that. Again, we got a couple pockets here across portions of Colorado, and then you got some here out here, of course, Texas. Obviously, you got the 15% risk there in the yellow, a little bit down here in South Florida. And the hail threat obviously is going to be confined there, right there across Texas for the most part there. In that yellow region, that little highlighted region in there, according to Ardmore, Dallas, McKinney, Fort Worth, this whole area here could see 1 to 2 inch size hail, I think, for the most part, with those potential isolated thunderstorms here for today. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at your day 2 outlook here. And again, we're going to be watching these little disturbances. So here's your day 2. Here's another one kind of sliding out of the Rockies once again. Look at some thunderstorms up there to Nebraska and then toward areas of Kansas. And you see the marginal risk kind of coming here, going down in Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. And then day 3, this will kind of slide in a little more into the southeast, Alabama, and maybe getting into west central Georgia. Another little pocket of severe weather here across portions of Oklahoma. And the NAM model is kind of showing this a little bit, and we're going to show you that here in just a second. So again, we got a little series of disturbances, and each one of the days going into Memorial Day weekend, we're going to see the risk of an isolated severe thunderstorm, but at least nothing major, not a big outbreak like we just recently had. Nothing like that in the cards. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the flood outlook here. Again, we're going to be watching this kind of going up a little bit. Looks like we're going to get a little more active with the rainfall amounts in here. Right now, they're kind of marginal. You got a couple little pockets here we got to watch here. Obviously, New England, we showed you the radar up there showing the wet weather down there, South Florida, and back here toward Texas where they're expecting that thunderstorms for today. Let's take this up for the next 5 days. So this is going to take you from today, being Thursday, going right into this upcoming Memorial Day weekend. So let's check out Friday. There you got that little target zone there in the middle of the country. Day 3 kind of expands out a little bit more going into Saturday. So we're talking Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, getting a little more chance for some excessive rainfall amounts that could spawn some localized flooding. Day 4 really kind of spikes up here going into Sunday. Look at that. Big part of Missouri going all the way back in toward Texas, Oklahoma, seeing that starting to get into areas of the southeast as well. And then going into your Sunday, it kind of shifts a little bit, but looking at marginal risk here, stretching from West Virginia all the way back here toward Texas, into Mississippi, Alabama, and yes, sneaking into Georgia as we get going in towards your Sunday. So again, we'll have to watch for little pockets of flooding potential, especially with some of these thunderstorms that I don't think will be moving all that fast. They're going to be moving at a fairly lower speed, not like 55 miles per hour or anything like that. They're going to be moving pretty slow. All right, so let's go ahead and break down the model data on this. Let's go ahead and talk about this. We're going to first be looking at the jet stream flow. This is going to kind of take us over the next 72 hours or so. The one thing that really stands out looking at this kind of circle here is that we got this area of low pressure here across New England. It's going to keep it very unsettled here. Fairly decent here across the south, not bad. There's a little bit of that ridging right in there. But again, with that bit of that northwesterly flow, we got another system coming in here on the west coast as well coming in. But again, with a little bit of this flow here, kind of like this, kind of see the arrows kind of pointing like that. We'll have these little disturbances that are going to be sliding down, and that'll be setting off that little active weather day by day. So again, that severe weather outlook day by day will change slightly depending on how the snapshot is looking at that specific moment. So they will change a little bit. Just keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the NAM. This is the high resolution NAM 3 kilometer going out about 60 hours, taking us into about Saturday afternoon. So again, we were talking about the Northeast. Look at this low, it's just absolutely miserable here. You see the pressure of this low drops down to 979, 975, 994. That's a pretty decent low pressure for this time of year. Look at the blue. Yeah, we got a little snow there for the interior sections going into Canada and northern portions of New England there. Definitely looking unsettled there. Again, we're going to be watching this flow. You got these little disturbances that are running out of the Rockies and are going to be sliding down. Here's a little disturbance there. You see the storms through Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, going throughout the day on Friday. And then going into Saturday, this slides down into Arkansas, Oklahoma, here getting into areas of Tennessee into Saturday. So again, we'll be watching this zone pretty closely here over the next couple of days. Again, you'll see some pockets of that severe weather here, but basically as that flow continues this way with those little weak disturbances, that'll, again, change a little bit slightly day by day. That'll keep things a little bit active there in the middle of the country. Now, with all that going on, let's talk about the temperatures here. The one big story on part of this is the fact that we're going to see kind of below normal temperatures for a big part of the country, except for the deep south, at least for the next couple of days here. Obviously, we've got some warm days out here in Texas. This is the afternoon highs on your Thursday. You see in 97, there's 100s here in portions of West Texas, 100 degrees. Deep south here, you're looking at 80s as well. But look at up here in New England, man. They're talking about cold. 41 degrees, 48 in Maine, 49 in Pennsylvania. I mean, it's getting toward the end of May. This is unusual to see this. It's definitely cool out there. Pleasant here in the middle of the country, sitting in the 70s, mid-70s in Kansas. That's not bad. But the areas of the southwest are looking pretty hot. Once again, we got 97s, got 100s, getting well into the 90s into Southern California, into the areas of the southwest portions of Arizona. So let's go ahead and talk about the temperatures here. Let's go ahead and take this forward here and for the next few days. So let's check out your Friday morning lows. We'll take us into Friday morning. We'll talk about 7 o'clock here. So 7 o'clock there. Look how much of the country. Look how much green's on this map. I mean, this is unusual. May 23rd. And we got temperatures here in the 40s and into Indiana, West Virginia. Here's Kentucky, 44 degrees. Missouri sitting at 47 degrees. Still holding, obviously, the mild air across Texas and the deep south. So you see it's milder down here in the 60s, upper 60s, and low 70s. But a big part of the country definitely looking very comfortable indeed here on your Friday morning. Friday afternoon highs. I know a lot of folks are going to be traveling on Friday afternoon. Again, still holding on to the heat out here in Texas. Still holding on to the 90s. Still cold air in the northeast. Still holding into the 40s up there. But even a cool down here into metro Atlanta, for example, in my area of the country, 74 degrees. That feels very good by late May standards here. 70 degrees there in Missouri. 64 up into Minnesota. Again, a lot of the country, I mean, really not looking bad. If you really got to look for the warm weather, kind of like you just basically got to look right in here. South there. Very, very well confined here as we go into your Friday. Let's go into your Saturday. We'll check out your Saturday morning lows here. Let's go into Saturday morning real quick. And looks like Saturday morning, again, a lot of the New England still looking pretty chilly here. Look at that, 39, 37. I mean, very chilly up that way. Into the 40s. Still got some 50, lower 50s here across North Georgia. Kind of milder out here into Texas. Getting a little bit milder here in Oklahoma, 72 degrees morning start there. Again, we'll be watching for some storms there going into Saturday. But again, a lot of the country outside of the deep south will be seeing some very comfortable temperatures here. And kind of going into your Saturday afternoon, again, the heat really confined to Texas, but a lot of the country really not looking all that bad going into this upcoming Memorial Day weekend. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the rainfall totals here. Again, you see the rainfall amounts here pretty good across areas of New England, 2.5 inches up here. That's where the heavy rains are kind of falling right now. This cluster of rains is those storms we're going to be watching. Again, we got that flow going like this. So we got pretty good storms here expected here. It looks like, especially going into Friday and Saturday. So we're talking about areas of southeastern Kansas, southwestern Missouri, heading into Oklahoma and Arkansas. That's a little bullseye right there of some heavier rain that we could expect. Again, that's a 2.5 day total taking into Saturday afternoon. And then it is going to really pick up. Check out the 10-day total. This is the European model. So it looks like things are going to be a little bit wet over the next 10 days. And this may cause some slight changes in the climate outlook. I'm going to show you that here in a second. But notice where they've got a lot of this heavy rain. A lot of that purple is 3 to 4 inches of rain across Tennessee, Arkansas, into North Carolina. A big bullseye. Look at that, 9 inches there showing up across southwest or southeastern portions of Kansas. We'll see about that. But again, a wet flow is this pattern is bringing these little disturbances down this way, and there'll be a series of them. It looks like going into Sunday and Monday across the southeast, looks like Memorial Day is looking a little bit damp, and I'll show you that here in a second here as we switch over and look at the long-range model here. Now, we're looking at the European here. I'm going to take you for the next 10 days. Not going to focus on anything beyond 10 days because it's really kind of extrapolation at that point. So really kind of we're looking at your day 3 going through your day 7 here. So what's obviously stands out, the blue, the lower pressure. You've seen that here across the northeast into New England. Again, not bad across the southeast going to the weekend, although we got those little disturbances that are kind of may throw a little bit of a monkey wrench into that forecast a little bit. And they got some little bit below pressure there across the southwest as well. So again, let's go check this out for the next 10 days. You see that low kind of pull on off here. But then we're going to see another background of some image here. We're going to see another kind of a cool pool that's going to work its way down this way. And that's going to spawn a low pressure system that's going to go off here as we go in from day 7 through 10. So watch this very closely here as this kind of goes on through. Let me clear this out. Sorry about that. And again, you watch that low pressure spelling out. Again, that's going to be below normal temperatures here in the east. Once again, you see that kind of configuration of the jet stream there. Very warm out here in the west, so above normal out toward the west, and which has been kind of the pattern we've been stuck in here for the last couple of days. That's going to continue. This spins up another low pressure system. Look at that, going into New England, going into the 31st as we basically wrap up the month of May. So this is your 10-day outlook. Again, so we got the nor'easter we're dealing with now, and you might see another one before the end of the month for the Northeast. And then it looks like beyond that, the pattern may begin to change after that low pressure begins to move on out. All right, so let's go look at the precipitation. We'll break this down day by day. Again, the only difference I see here with the NAM we saw earlier in this is this looks like a little bit further north than what the North American model was kind of showing there. Another thing I want to point out, look out this 540 line. This is the freezing line up here, that little dash at 540 there. That's cold air. I mean, you're getting in the end of May, you say goodbye to the 540. You don't see the freezing line anywhere. And to see it up here in Maine and across areas of Michigan, it's definitely unusual. And we're going to see more of it. So again, unsettled across the southeast. This is going into your Sunday afternoon. Again, watch for thunderstorms across the southeast. Couldn't rule out a few isolated severe. That's definitely in the cards there for Sunday, so watch out for that. And then going into your Monday afternoon, I wish I had better news for you guys here across from Atlanta, stretching back toward Dallas, looking unsettled here across the southeast. A little unsettled out here in the west as well, but the New England area starts to dry out a little bit. That's a little bit better. A little bit of activity across portions of the Dakotas as well going into your Sunday. So we're trying to get you prepared for this upcoming weekend. So Sunday a little unsettled, Monday a little unsettled. Obviously a lot of folks traveling and wrapping up Memorial Day weekend. Again, watch out for that. Of course, Atlanta, Hartsville, Jackson may see some weather there on Monday as well. Friday's looking good, but Monday might bring in some wet weather. All right, let's go ahead and through next week here as we go in toward your Tuesday. Again, remaining unsettled across the southeast. Remember, we got that big trough coming in. Again, you see this cool down. You got the low pulling off here. This is unusual. I mean, this is a cool height. This is a cool pool here, 542. This is that cold air that's going to come down here, and we're going to see low pressure form here off the coast here as you're going to wrap up the month of May, going to the end of next week. So right now, this pulls on off. Here's that low. Look at that 994 millibar low here. Again, this is still a ways out. This is 8-9 days out. It may not happen, but seeing a cool dump like that logically makes sense to me that may happen. But this pulls up here a 986 low pressure system just off the New England coast, another nor'easter potentially as we wrap up the month of May. And I'll take this out to the end of the 10-day. There it is, a very strong low pressure up there. Looks like some storms here across the middle of the country. And it looks like beyond the 31st, We're going to continue with a cool weather pattern here in the east and very warm out in the west. And I think beyond that, start to see some hints beyond the 10-day that the pattern will change again here as we get in past, say the 6th and 7th of June. That's the way it's looking right now in my eyes. All right, so let's look at the climate outlook. We're going to wrap up this report again. The big news story here is going to be the fact that we're seeing below normal temperatures here across a big portion of the country from the 27th to the 31st as we wrap up the month of May. Seeing that big blue there, we're probably seeing temperatures in here probably some 10 to 15 degrees. I know my writing stinks, but 10 to 15 degrees below normal there in that dark blue area here. And you're looking at, again, looking at the west, looking at very warm up here across areas of Montana and Idaho. That's going into the month of May, finishing that up. Going into the first week in June, going to the 29th of May into June the 4th, we're still holding on to the below normal temperatures here across the southeast. Very warm here out here in the west. Starts to warm up a little bit up here in New England as well as we go in toward the first week of June, heading toward the 4th. Now, where I think we might see some changes here on the outlook based off the latest European model data is this portion here. You notice it shows the above normal temperature, above normal precipitation, I should say, here a little bit further south. I think we're going to see a little more of this kind of possibly fill in if that model trend continues. We're definitely drier up here across the high plains. Again, that storm track's kind of doing something like this. So looks like it'll stay wet down to the south and going out to 8th through the 14th. It's kind of holding it right there. I think it may bring it a little bit further north if the European model is correct, and it continues to be a tendency to bring that rain a little bit further north. You saw where that dark purple heavy rain was falling, and it's going to stay dry here, obviously, across the northern plains, heading back in here toward areas of the Midwest as we go toward your June 4th. So again, it looks like we're in store for a little bit of unsettled weather, especially across the middle of the country, the southeast, as we go into Memorial Day weekend. So plan accordingly there. We do have some days of severe weather, but no organized big outbreaks are expected. There are going to be pockets here and there. We'll have to track that closely day by day as we go into early next week. Again, I want to thank all the new subscribers here to the channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed and you'd like to get this weather report as part of your regular YouTube feed, all you got to do, again, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you got any weather-related questions or if there's something you'd like to see as part of this report, please leave me a comment down below. I do appreciate the feedback. All right, that's y'all's update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. You guys have a great and safe Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you next week. You guys take it easy. Bye-bye.